Okay, welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. It's Mother's Day today, so it was kind of a different day. There was no brunch, which generally means it's a shitty Sunday. And board game day was pretty weak, but we are still here, and we're gonna be doing some duelist today, just kind of doing some shit. Let's not worry about that. Okay, so as far as the channel's concerned this week, I finished up Titan Souls. That's done. I have one video left to upload of Assassin's Creed, and then that's done. And then that leaves Axiom Verge, pretty much. Of which, I think I have one video sitting there to upload, and I don't know how long the game actually is, so that's hard to say.
The truth versus Vannar.
And then, I don't know, we're gonna kind of see what happens. Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that I could start as far as, Let's Plays. There's my kind of, the YOLO series of the Souls games, where I only have one life, and when I die, it's over. Which is actually what Epic Namebro is doing right now for Bloodborne. I would be doing, like, every game in order, so that's something that I'll do at some point. And then there's also a regular playthrough of Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, or whatever it's called. That will happen probably, inevitably, at some point. I just don't know when. Last time I talked about potentially doing a Let's Play of Witcher 3 if people really wanted it, but I didn't seem to get a great outpouring from that, so probably not. Yeah, there's not a huge amount of games on the horizon, and so I don't know. It's probably going to be something Souls or Bloodborne related in the near future. Yeah. There is not going to be a role main or Secrets of Role main this week. Just having trouble getting players together. I know today was Mother's Day, so I didn't really plan on it, but weeks go by. There will be probably another duelist video on Tuesday, as I tend to do. That's kind of it. Things are starting to kind of equalize. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how long Axiom Verge is going to go on. I can always record more Zelda. That's just kind of a thing. But yeah, things are gonna equalize. I think they already started to have. Ziggy and I have been playing a bunch of Call of Duty lately. Like Modern Warfare 2. And I thought about maybe recording something of that, but I didn't think anybody would be interested, so I declined. Okay, that was an interesting choice. Okay. Yeah, so this is normally where I would talk about board games, but we'll get to that later. First, I want to talk about role-playing games. And by that, I mean on a tabletop or Roll20. This is the smart choice. Okay, so yeah, like I said, there's no Call of Cthulhu tonight, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I can ask any fans to join the Call of Cthulhu campaign, because almost anybody that would be interested has already been watching the Secrets of Roll-Playing and stuff, and so that's not allowed. So we're down to we're at 4 players, but it's getting rough, you know, getting the 4 together. 3 players for a campaign like this is not where you really want it to be. Could drop this, but then pretty much dead in the water. Okay, sorry. Duelist kind of requires some thought. So I don't know about the whole Call of Cthulhu thing. I mean, okay. During the week, I don't know what I was doing. I don't know what I was doing where I got onto this train of thought or this process or whatever, but I think it was, what day was that? Wednesday? Yeah, we had a Wednesday board game night, which I'll talk about a little later. And afterwards, Mert and I were sitting around talking. And we were talking about Dungeons & Dragons because Ziggy is planning a D&D campaign pretty soon, fairly soon, in which it's going to be D&D 4th edition. It's going to be on Roll20. Mert's going to be involved. I'm going to be involved. Ziggy's DMing. Probably a couple other people. And so we were sitting there talking, and the basis right now for the campaign, all that we know about it, is that it's going to involve weapons. It's going to involve, like, crazy weapons. Like, that's the main theme. And this was inspired when I was playing Bloodborne, and I mentioned the Kirk hammer to Ziggy. I was like, just look at this shit. Look at how amazing this is. And he was like, holy shit, that's amazing. And so I was like, I need this for my next D&D character. I need to have this weapon. And so he was like, you know, maybe the campaign will be like all about that. And so, you know, we were talking about it, and I was like, you know, that's a cool concept that everybody has, like, the crazy unique weapons a la Bloodborne, except Bloodborne doesn't have really any magic, or, you know, very little, whereas D&D tends to have a lot of magic. And so it's like, what's your plan then? Like, spellcasters, you can't really get too crazy with crazy weapons. A spellcaster has generally, like, a staff or an orb or something like that. You know, it's usually not anything nuts. And so I was telling Mert, and I was like, you know, I'm hoping that there's more to the campaign than just weapons, you know. I hope there's some other hook or, you know, something. And so I brought that up to Zig, and he's like, yeah, you know, that is just the hook, is just the weapons. There's obviously going to be more to it than that. You know, it's a hook like anything else would be a hook. And so I'm like, you know, okay. And I still don't know what spellcasters would really do for the sake of crazy weapons, but okay. And so Mert and I kept talking, and I was like, you know, D&D is... Obviously, I like 4th edition more than any other edition. And so if I'm going to play D&D, it's going to be 4th edition. But I'm hoping that Ziggy can put in kind of a... Four, 8, 10... That doesn't... Not quite. Hold on. We'll get there. Hold on. Attack him. What's your problem? Oh, this isn't even mine, is it? No, why would I have that in my deck? Anyways, so I'm hoping that, like, traditional just high fantasy RPGs, it's... I think it could still be done well enough that I would love it. It's just... I don't know. I feel like if Ziggy is planning just a straight up, you know, regular kind of high fantasy kind of campaign, which I doubt he is, but say that he is. I feel like it's more up to me to create like a really unique, crazy, fun character to make the campaign unique, you know, than him just being, you know, coming up with an interesting setting or story. And so I'm not crazy about that. And so I was, you know, I told him, I was like, I know your answer to this already. I know your response. But you have my permission to use the On the Backs of Gods setting if you want. And he's just like, okay, thanks. And I'm like, you know, I know he's not going to use it. I don't know why. Ziggy's just very much the type of guy that will never use anything pre-written ever. Like, everything has to be homebrew, his own. But even then, he came up with a whole homebrew set. He came up with Drethic, and we did a whole campaign there. We have the entire map, most of which we didn't even touch on. He came up with the whole religion setting, you know, the whole religion system, everything. It's all he came up with, and then he's never going to use it again, you know. Because then the last campaign that he ran, he wanted to come up with a whole new world, and it's just like... Tolkien didn't come up with a new world for every book, man. He stuck with, you know, Middle Earth, and you know it was good. It was good. So I don't know. I would just like some sort of unique twist, I guess. Something that's not just high fantasy normal. Now I know he's gonna. There's gonna be a twist, but I'm concerned, I guess. Another glacial elemental. So, Mert and I were talking then, and I was like, okay, so, you know, say On the Backs of Gods. Say he actually did want to use On the Backs of Gods for some crazy reason. D&D doesn't really suit it, you know? It just doesn't really fit because D&D is all about magic, and you can't really do a no magic setting in D&D without screwing it all to hell, as I tried to do. And, you know, other types of set, like anything that's a bit more tech, like anything with guns and stuff like that. Putting guns into 4th edition D&D just doesn't really work, you know, or any kind of extensive homebrew. D&D just is, it's not structured right for that. It's too rigid. It's way too rigid. And so we were talking about that, and I was, you know, I wish there was some other system that really kind of worked for that. And we brought up Fate, which of course we've tried a few times. And Fate is an interesting concept, and I would be willing to do a whole campaign in Fate. It's just we've never tried it. But the problem that, you know, we have with Fate is it's too loose, you know, it's all kind of just descriptive. There's not a whole lot of crunch to Fate. It's very much just, here's some words on paper and they mean stuff. And that's kind of a bummer. I mean, like I said, I would definitely attempt a campaign like that. But a lot of us like crunch. You know, we like stats, we like numbers, we like things like that to kind of give some structure to the game, to the system, to the rules. And so I was like, you know, I wish there was, you know, something like Fate, but, you know, a bit more involved. And so that prompted me then during the course of the week to look up GURPS, Generic Universal Role-Playing System, which is, you know, I've heard of GURPS plenty of times since I started getting into RPGs. I'm obviously not ignorant of what it is. I've just never looked into it. And so now I finally decided to see what it's all about. So I downloaded the kind of basic PDFs for GURPS 4th edition, which is even now kind of old. It hasn't been updated in a long time. And so I started reading it. And GURPS is ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. It's like what is it like? Well, basically it's like Fate if they came up with actual rules and stats for every single aspect that you could come up with. Like, there's everything. Like, everything has stats. In GURPS. Like, everything. Anything you can think of, it's probably been written down in some point in GURPS. Kind of dumb of me. And so GURPS then is it's not a game. Like, D&D is a role-playing game. GURPS is a role-playing system, and there's really a big difference. D&D is the type of game where you could, and you know, they have that, where you just buy like the basic set. You know, you buy the red box set or whatever, and it comes with, you know, just enough for you and your few buddies to go through an adventure and make some basic characters and just, you know, get started. And you get right in there with Dungeons and Dragons. You're playing. GURPS is like... It's like engineering manuals compared to that. There's rules for everything. It's ridiculous. And so they don't actually expect you to play with those rules. Like, with everything. They... Jesus Christ. They expect you to take the books and take what you want and take what you need for your game and leave everything else out. And so you actually have to do a bunch of work instead of, you know, something like D&D where it's just, here's everything you need. You're going to use all these rules. Go wild, you know. And so GURPS, for me, when I was first going through it, I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing, you know? This is everything I ever wanted. This is everything I ever wanted. Because it's insane. Like, I was looking at the skill list online. There's like 275 skills you can take. There's skills for everything. You want a skill for scuba diving? Sure. You want a skill for sewing? Sure. You want a skill for singing, skating, skiing, smuggling, sociology, speed reading? Do you want the skill for speed reading? Because you can have it. You can have it in your game all you want. There it is. You want a skill just for sports? And this isn't just any sport. This isn't all sports you're good at. No, you have to pick which sports you're good at when you take that skill. You're not just generically good, only if you take all the different sports skill. There's skills for savoir-faire. There's skills for sumo wrestling, for symbol drawing. Yes, without the skill in symbol drawing, you're probably pretty shit at drawing symbols. But with that skill, you could draw all the symbols you'd ever need. There's skills for tactics, for thaumatology, for theology, for anything, typing, weather sense. It's ridiculous. I could go on and on and on and on. How batshit insane it is. And so, and that's just skills. Skills are kind of the boring part. The cool part is advantages. Because advantages are where you become like superheroes. Advantages are everything else you could ever think of. Like, this is basically any type of character you could ever think of or have seen in a television show, movie, comic book, whatever, you can make. They have rules for everything. So, if you want to be Daredevil, you can do that. If you want to be the Hulk, you can do that. You want to be shit, I don't know. Solid Snake, whatever, anything. Oh, it's so ridiculous. I could go through just a list of I could make a video. It's an hour long of me just going through the advantages list and telling you all the cool shit that's in there. Altered time rate. Your rate of time perception is faster than that of a normal human. And you can take as many levels of that as you have points. So you could perceive time like 5 times faster than a normal human. You could be amphibious. You could have, you could be blessed. You could have the chameleon ability. You could, what else? You could have claws or hooves or horns or you could have clairsentience, or you could have better combat reflexes, or you could have, I'm just scrolling through, man, cybernetics, there you go, special damage resistance. Now, it's not just, oh, I have damage resistance. No, there's a lot more to it than that. Because you have to explain your damage resistance. You can't just, I'm a human and I have damage resistance because I'm tough. No, you need to have a reason. So either you need, like, you need to be a creature, so you have to go down that route and have to have thick skin or pelts or a shell or something like that. Or you need to have, like, you need to be a robot, and that I'm a robot, so I have armor damage resistance. You know, I have metal armor, or and then that's just straight up okay damage resistance. Then you can add like enhancements onto this. Hold on, let me queue up another game. So you can have my damage resistance is the absorption enhancement. So I actually absorb the damage and use it to enhance my abilities. So you, like, consume the energy, and boom, you can have a force field. So I don't just, you know, I don't have armor. I have an actual force field that goes around me. And then you have to explain where that comes from. Is that a technological force field, or is that a psionic force field, or so on and so forth? You could have reflection, so the damage doesn't just stop, it actually bounces back. And then you have to explain how that works. Or you can have limitations instead of enhancements. So your body might be configured in a way that you can't wear normal armor, or your damage resistance is only directional. So you only have damage resistance because of your thick, like, armor plating on your torso. But if somebody backstabs you, you don't have any damage resistance. Or you know, it's only in other different locations. Or so on and so on and so forth. You can have the doesn't eat or drink if you don't want to eat or drink. You could have eidetic memory, elastic skin. You could move faster. So if you want to be the Flash, and I always want to be the Flash, you can be the Flash. You could move, your top speed can be 8 times faster than a normal human, if that's what you want to have. You can have enhanced time sense. Now this is different than altered time sense. Enhanced time sense means you receive and process information faster than the human norm. So this improves your mental speed. So this doesn't let you react faster, you just process information faster. And there's all sorts of, you know, enhancements to that. You could have an extended lifespan, extra arms. So you want to make like a Minotaur with 4 arms? You want to make Goro? There you go, you can make Goro. Hold on. Let me catch my breath. Okay. You want to have an extra head or extra legs or extra mouth? Yes, there's an advantage to have an extra mouth if you really want. You could have lungs that filter out chemicals. You could be flexible, or you can fly. You want flight? There you go. Boom, flight. Now then you have to explain how you can fly. Do you have wings? Are you like Superman? Are you a robot? You have jetpacks? Can you fly in space? Can you not fly in space? Can you hover? Can you glide? Can you just morph into a gas and you just float away in the air? How high can you fly? How big are your wings? So on and so forth. You can grow. You can set your specific growth advantage. And so you can set how big can you grow. Can you be like that Native American comic book character that I can never remember where he grows like to Godzilla size? Or are you just the Hulk where you grow, you know, up to like whatever he is, like 8-9 feet or whatever, 10 feet. And then what's linked to your grow? Do you have enough strength? Is it like an alternate template, or, you know, are you a different type of entire person, or are you just bigger, you know? Shit. 3, that sucks. That's not really a big threat. 2, probably just do that. Probably should put it down the bear first. Let me keep going because I'm on a roll here. Do you have a high pain threshold? Do you have hyperspectral vision? So you can see across, you know, the infrared thing, or you can see ultraviolet rays. Infravision. Do you have an innate attack, which means can you breathe fire or spit acid, or your arms turn into, like, you know, knives or things like that. Insubstantiality. Are you a ghost? Do you want to play a ghost? You can play a ghost. Invisibility. Invisibility is a great example because you could be just invisible. You're always invisible. No matter what, you're invisible. But what about your clothes? Are they invisible? What if you grab something while you're invisible? Does that become invisible? What about machines like cameras? Do they see you as invisible or not? Can you, how long does the invisibility last? Is it always on, or can you switch it on? Or, you know, what if it's usually on, but occasionally it falters? Or what if it's always on, but you can see yourself in mirrors? And other people can see you in mirrors. What if your invisibility only works on, you know, material beings? What if ghosts can still see you? Or here's Jumper. Jumper is a great ability where you can travel through time or to other dimensions or worlds, because you can jump, like that movie Jumper. It's just like that, I think. I don't know, I never saw it. And so you could jump. You have to pick whether you either want to jump through time or whether you want to jump across worlds, or you can take both and jump across both time and worlds. And then it's like, okay, how far through time can you jump, or how far can you jump across worlds? And do you always land in the right place where you left, or other stuff that's going on that I could just keep going on about? Can you control your jumper ability, or is it uncontrollable? Can you only jump to worlds that you know, or can you jump to any world as long as you know about it? You can get the ability where you can travel to the home, time, or world of any artifact that you're touching. Or you can create a tunnel, like a portal, when you jump so that people can follow you, but also let your enemies follow you. You can do where you can't bring along people with you, or you can't hitch a ride on other jumpers. Like, that situation would really arise, I guess. Or you might take the drift limitation, so you appear within like 10 miles of where you wanted to appear, so it's kind of shitty. Or you could have it so you could put on a limitation so that you can't really control your jumper ability. So in like the worst possible moment, suddenly you jump to a different, you know, world or something, like that SCP, and that really makes me want to make a character like that. Or you could take legal immunity. Yeah, that's an advantage, where you're just exempt from some or all the laws of your society. Diplomatic immunity. Maybe you need less sleep. Or maybe you're a lightning calculator. You can do all the mathematics in your head. Or maybe you have luck. Or maybe you are a mana damper, and so you negate magical energy in the area. Or I'm probably going to stop now. I could go on for probably another hour just on advantages. So the point is, The point is that GURPS is insane. That's the point I'm trying to get across, and I hope I did. It's bananas. And so, very quickly, I set out to make a bunch of characters up that are just ridiculous. And so I made, you know, Artemis, like, just, you know, Artemis Wolf, as he was, like a scion. And yeah, he has the lightning calculator ability, and he's got some basic telepathy and telekinesis, and his intelligence is redonkulous. And so how character generation works is the GM decides how many points that your character gets to start with to work off of. And so, like, normal kind of D&D-esque type characters are built with, like, 150 points or something like that. You know, these are your kind of basic heroes. Whereas superheroes might have, like, 600 points. Or, you know, even more. Whatever the GM kind of wants. And so points get you everything. Like, everything is basically points, except for, I think, equipment. Unless you want special equipment. In which case, that's probably points. But if you want to increase your stats, that's points. If you want skills, that's points. If you want advantages, that's points. If you want disadvantages, that gives you points. See? And usually, they'll set like a disadvantage limit so that you can't just bog your guy down with all sorts of bullshit just to become a superhero. So you might take, you know, I didn't even get to the disadvantages. You want to hear some of those? I can go off on those. What do we got? Absent-mindedness. You can be addicted. You can have alcoholism. You can have a bad back. You can have bad sight. You could have bad smell. You could be ugly. You could go berserk. You could be blind. So on and so forth. What else do they got? You cannot speak. Chronic depression. Clueless. You have a code of honor that's very specific. Combat paralysis. Colorblindness. Compulsive behavior. Cowardice. Cursed. Delusions. Dependency. Dependence. Destiny. Disturbing voice. Your voice is naturally unpleasant or obviously artificial. Dwarfism, dyslexia, easy to kill. It's probably not a good disadvantage. So then it's like, you know, depending on your GM, obviously limitations can apply. But say you take kind of a D&D-esque setting, you know, a fantasy-type setting. There are creatures that can fly, you know, of course. And take 4th edition D&D, you can play as races that can fly. You can play as a pixie. So, say you want to play as something that can fly. Or say I just wanted to be ridiculous and I say, you know, my Minotaur is a freak of nature, and he has wings, and so he was outcast from his society. I could make that Minotaur. He has horns, he has hooves, you know, he's large, things like that. He's ugly. And then I can spend some points, if I wanted to give him flight. And there can be limitations like that. He has small wings. He can't hover. He can't fly very high. You know, all sorts of shit like that. And that could cost a small amount of points depending on how many limitations I put on. And boom, he has flight. And I've created this thing that I could really, if I wanted to make it in 4th edition D&D, would be annoying as all hell. Whereas in GURPS, it's just click, 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 boom. so everything's done with points, and it's really, really, really adaptable. And I'm just going off the basic book, okay? I'm just going off the basic set, the basic rule book. They have, like, supplemental books for everything. Like, low technology, high fantasy, cyberpunk, you know, post-apocalyptic, like, everything. It's ridiculous. Because GURPS has been around for, like, 30-odd years. It's crazy. There's everything. Everything you can think of. And so then I started to kind of digest all the possible rules, I guess. And it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot there. And so for a little bit, I felt like I'm gonna make a really strange reference. Most people won't get it, but I felt like the ending of the Hulk movie with Eric Bana when he was fighting the you know, he was fighting his dad, I get, but he was like the absorbing man or whatever it was. And so he wanted to, like, have all the Hulk's power, you know? And so the Hulk was like, take it all! And it was too much. It was too much for the absorbing man. He just kind of exploded. That's kind of what I felt like. I was just like, this is what I wanted, but it's too much! I guess. And so I mean, this has been a long discussion, I know, and I don't really have a point. I guess the point is, I would love to try GURPS. I just don't know who would be interested. GURPS does have, like, a character creator, which I've been tooling around with, and it is very, very helpful. It kind of, you know, it does all the math for you, and there's a ridiculous amount of math. Like, even just for, like, advantages and shit like that. Like, if you wanted to take the flight advantage, but you wanted those limitations, the limitations, like, deduct percentages from the point cost. So flight by itself costs 50 points, but if you want small wings and a ceiling thing, and that might be, like, minus 10%, minus 20%, you know, and that's just a very easy example. There's all sorts of, like, reduction percentages and things like that. It's kind of crazy. So the character creator helps, but there's just a lot of rules. And so I guess I'd like to try, like, a mini campaign, like 3 sessions or so in On the Backs of Gods, trying out GURPS. But I think I'd rather play it than run it. But I don't know if I would find anybody to run it. It seems very cool, and I know it's pretty popular, you know, as far as hardcore RPGers, like, for looking at it, just a generic system, there's not a whole lot more you really want to ask for as far as flexibility. Like, this seems like the end all, because it has everything. It's like everything in the kitchen sink is just thrown in there, you know. It's the opposite of Fate. Fate is streamlined, it's just words, you know, it's very simple. This is just everything, so I don't know. I mean, this is just what I've been kind of looking at over the week, so I thought I would discuss it and just how batshit crazy it is. I haven't even looked at any of the rules for Magic, because, God. But yeah, that's GURPS, I guess. We're at 45 minutes right now, and I haven't even talked about other stuff. Alright, so I guess the point was, I don't know about Call of Cthulhu. I don't know if that's going to be continuing or what. I mean, because I know Ziggy's campaign is starting up soon, and I don't know what day he's planning it. If he wanted to switch it over to Sundays to replace Call of Cthulhu, I don't think I'd be that. if he wanted to play GURPS on Sundays in a campaign, then that would be crazy. There we go. So for board games this week, let's see, on Wednesday, we had kind of a small board game day. There was 5 of us, including Ziggy's wife, who's not really the most hardcore gamer at all. And so we were originally, I think, planning Cthulhu Wars finally, which I desperately want to play. But she came along, and so I can't do Cthulhu Wars with 5. And even if I could, I probably wouldn't have done it anyways. So we played... We started with Escape, which is a real-time dice rolling game in which you just roll a shit ton of dice over the course of 10 minutes while a soundtrack plays in the background. And it's a fully cooperative game. And you're trying to help each other all escape from this temple. And it's just a mad dash, just rolling dice constantly. And it's really just kind of chaotic. Like, that's the whole point, is it's chaotic. And so we played it a couple times. And we had one player who had done it before. He knew what he was doing. Everyone else was new. Played it a couple times. I liked it. I definitely liked it. It had that real chaotic sense of urgency times where I was just swearing like the whole time at everybody. I like those kind of games. Very chaotic, very hectic. Not a whole lot substance there, but we didn't play with any of like the expansion modules, so maybe that would have done something. But I don't think the point was that there's a lot of substance there. It's kind of just chaos in a box. And so it's not something you're going to bust out every week to kind of get better at and things like that. It's just, once in a while, it's just like, you want to roll some dice? We're going to roll some freaking dice. So, I don't have a whole lot of dice rolling games. Then we moved on to, we were going to try Power Grid, but that seemed way too heavy. So we put that away. Then we were going to try Once Upon a Time, but I hadn't touched the box, so everything was still packaged, and so they're like, you don't even know how to play, let's try something different. So we put that away, and then I was like, well, we could just play Dixit. So we played Dixit, which was pretty good, but it was like, people suggested, people said clues and put down cards that were way too obvious, and so I was like, there's no way they were that obvious. I'm gonna bet on something else. And it turns out, no, they were way too obvious, and everybody bet on that except for me. And so everybody just got ahead except for me, because I was like, no, there's no way they're that dumb. No, they were. So that was a bummer. And then we got to like the last turn. Ziggy's wife was about to win, and her clue was like Days of Our Lives. And the card that was out there, one of the cards that was out there was a big hourglass. And it was like, you can't, that was way too obvious. If anybody bets on that one, she's going to win, and it's game over. And everybody was like, you're right, we can't bet on that, she wins. Who bet on that? Oh, Ziggy, because he wanted his wife to win, I guess. And so he tried to justify it many times by saying, I guess you're just not okay with, being in second place. I am. And I was like, you can say whatever you want, but this isn't the first time that you two have been, responsible for things like this. The worst example was that Cosmic Encounter game I played with them, where she basically just handed the game to him in the final thing, and it was just utter betrayal. It's like, why? I know that's not an uncommon thing. People all over the world have discussed playing with married couples and things like that, and what can happen. And yeah, it's terrible. So I was just like, what? It's Dixit. If it was Cosmic again, I'd be real freaking pissed. But Dixit and whatever. And then we played Say Anything again, because Ziggy seems to really like it. And yeah, it's a fun game. I don't really tend to like to bring up party games during a board game night. I think party games are, for cookouts and, things like that. with a bunch of people. But he wanted to do it, so he did it. And yeah, it was fine. Yesterday I went over to my sister's and we played what did we play? Okay, so I brought over like 4 new games, and most of them were new to even me. I brought over Ink and Gold, which I just got for my birthday, which is in like the same category as For Sale. It's from the same company in the same box type set. So I brought over Ink and Gold. We tried that a few games. Pretty fun. I haven't played it enough to really judge, but I would say I like it a little bit more than For Sale. It's more random, I guess. Yeah, I would say it's more random, but it's much more intense than For Sale is, so it deserves some more time spent playing. Then we moved on to Survive, Escape from Atlantis, which the 30th anniversary edition that I just recently picked up. Pretty fun stuff. It's one of those games that encourages you to be a dick. Like, if you really want to go out of your way to not be a dick, that's possible, but you're probably not going to win. Like, it's a competitive game, and it's so easy to be a dick. You know, it's just like, why wouldn't you be? If you want to win, you better be a dick. It's one of those games. So it's an odd family game, but it was entertaining. It was definitely entertaining. Okay, let me think. I have 9. Okay, so that would be 10. I think I have Lethal. Just give me a sec. I know it's gonna be a pretty long video. Nice. So yeah, fun game. Definitely gonna bring that over again. Because it's fun to throw your mom to the sharks, I guess. Then we moved on to, they wanted to play potentially another game of Survive, so that's a good sign, but I was like, I brought 7 Wonders, which is one of my new favorite games, so I was like, let's try this. Man, the first game of that is just rough. Even for like experienced gamers, it's kind of just, that have never done really much card drafting or had dealt with much iconography or anything like that, it's kind of tough to grok, but for, you know, somewhat casual gamers, yeah, it was kind of rough. Because whenever somebody, you know, generally wants to play a game, they try to win. And so it doesn't matter how many times you tell them, it's like, this is a learning game, it doesn't matter, just, you know, try to learn stuff, don't worry about winning. They ignore that. They ignore that completely. It's just, I gotta win. What's the bet? I gotta figure this out. And so it took a while. It was a long game, but I could definitely tell towards the end things were, you could almost hear the clicking of pieces together as they understood it. And actually, I tied that game with my brother-in-law, which means I just suck at 7 Wonders now, I guess. And I have the Leaders expansion, but I didn't bring that out or anything. So that was good. And then the 4th game that I brought was Tichu, which is a 4-player trick-taking game that's pretty damn popular, from what I understand, as far as trick-taking games go. And so we didn't have nearly enough time for me to try to explain that, so some other time. But next time I go over there, I'm probably just going to bring the same exact set of games. So that's good. Those were all pretty big hits. Then today we only had 3 people for board game day, so we've tried Galaxy Trucker. Finally, I got to try that out after hearing plenty about it. And Galaxy Trucker was... We went through the rules. I don't think we went through the rules properly. I already knew how to play, and my other friend knew how to play, but Ziggy didn't know how to play. And so we were kind of just throwing out info to him, but we didn't go through like the actual kind of tutorial process that, you know, Cavato games tend to do. So it yeah, it could have been better, I guess. I definitely think it's a very interesting game. I definitely would like to play it again. Interestingly enough, it didn't feel like as mad kind of intensity during the shipbuilding as I thought it would be. Like, we got, like, during stages 2 and 3, you have 2 and 3 minutes to build a ship, from what I understand of the rules. And you have 1 hand to do it, and so I went through and I built my ship, and I ended early, like, all 3 times, or both times. The first step, the first, you know, kind of level is 1 minute's kind of rough. But the other times I finished early, I had, like, no open connectors, and I had a pretty solid ship all around. And I thought it would be way more chaotic than it ended up being, so that was kind of interesting. But, yeah, it's an interesting game. It's very unique. I'd say I'd probably like it better than Castles, but I've kind of been castled out a bit until the expansion comes out. And then we played some more Tales of the Arabian Nights, which is just a fantastic game. I think everybody should have that game. It's hilarious. It's just great. That's obnoxious. Sure. Anyways. So yeah, Tales of the Arabian Nights, very entertaining game. I basically started out picking, I went with weapon use, magic, and luck. And I was just like, I'm gonna murder everything I come across. And my first quest was being the King of Thieves. So I was just supposed to go to a couple places, rob the shit out of them, you know, and get my treasures and be the King of Thieves. And I was like, yes, this is all good. I ended up being the Grand Ambassador of the Ifrit Kingdom. Wearing the robe of honor and having multiple meetings with the Sultan, despite being an outlaw in Constantinople. If that doesn't intrigue you, then I don't know what will. It was hilarious. I didn't actually end up winning either. So yeah, just great game. Unlike anything else I own. Yeah, so that's that. 10-3, this will kill you. I win yet again, I'm the greatest. Okay, so then final thing, I guess, let's see, is usually any real life discussion, which sure isn't much. I don't do a whole lot. Thursday at Applebee's, Ziggy and his wife were kind of whispering about a female friend of theirs. and they were thinking about, I guess they weren't really thinking about introducing her to me. Like, you know, trying to hook us together. And they really just decided against it as just not being my type at all. They were kind of derogatory towards her, which is kind of strange. Like, this is your friend? What are you talking about? And so I'm like, okay, you know, she's not my type, because I don't have a type. And I was like, you know, what about our other friend Thomas? You know, he's basically the opposite of me. He doesn't really talk much at all, and he drinks a lot. And like, what about him? And they're just like, no, not really. And so I'm like, okay, so, you know, she's not my type, and she's not his type. Where does she fit in? And then my buddy sitting next to me is like, somewhere in the middle. And then there was like the perfectly timed pause, just absolutely flawless, where nobody said anything. And then Thomas says, that could work. And we all just busted up because it was it was perfectly timed and the perfect thing to say. And so Ziggy and his wife just walked away. And so Thomas is like, and scene. And I just could not stop laughing. Man, oh man. Because that was just a perfect 1, 2, 3 setup. That was just... I wasn't... Like, even I didn't think of that. Like, it was great. It was great. Maybe you had to be there. I think it's still kind of funny either way. But that is going to wrap it up for Hanging with Mangg this week. I know most of it was talking about GURPS, but I think even if you're not into RPGs, it was an interesting discussion, because it's insane is what it is. So I don't know what the fate is of Call of Cthulhu. I don't know when D&D is going to happen, or what day or whatever is going to happen with that. I have no idea what's going to happen in the future, obviously. I know that there's going to be some more Axiom Verge, another Duelist video, another Assassin's Creed video, probably some type of Souls/Bloodborne video, whatever. Probably not Witcher 3. And time will tick on. I'm going to Colorado in the middle of June, so in about a month. And I'm actually going to miss E3. I won't be here for E3. And that really bums me out. That really bums me out. So I'm going to have to wait till I get back to find out everything and watch all the things and then do a video talking about it. That's rough. But anyways, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.